Good evening. We're coming to you from the A15 studio here at good old Mundelein High School. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about the Vice Presidency today. Um, and we'll have an interesting quote coming up here in a second. But I want to start off with a question that the College Board traditionally asks or has asked in the past. So when selecting a vice presidential candidate, the candidate is usually concerned with choosing a running mate who? All right. And the correct answer here, pause your videos. Correct answer would be B. They add balance and appeal to the national ticket. All right. And some say it's an outdated question a little bit because of the Dick Cheney selection. But in this most recent go around, um, Paul Ryan definitely added some balance and appeal to the national ticket, which we'll talk about, look at it in a second. So E is out because it's pretty much insignificant. They very rarely preside over the Senate. All right. Usually the VP does not deal much with domestic policy because that's what the president's primary concern is. So he doesn't really want somebody that's like-minded in that area. Okay. You don't want somebody from the same ideological wing of the party because a lot of times it's somebody that ran in the primary and did not win. And the significant wealth is usually a hindrance for that one because you really don't need the funds. There's so much outside campaign funds and things that does not work. So it's balance and appeal to the national ticket. All right. So John Nance Garner, who was FDR's VP, once said that the vice presidency isn't worth a pitcher of warm spit. He actually said something else, but you guys didn't get the parental permission slips signed, so I cannot give you the R-rated version of what he really said. But it kind of sums up how meaningless and worthless the vice presidency has been perceived, although that has changed in recent years. All right. We need to know the formal powers of the vice president. Formal meaning it's in the Constitution, and those are to preside over the Senate, where they break ties, and also to aid in determining presidential disability. So according to the 25th Amendment, we need the vice president and half of the cabinet or majority of the cabinet to say the president is disabled, and then he can take over. But he cannot make that decision exclusively on his own. All right. So who must sign on with the VP to invoke the 25th Amendment? Okay. Kind of gave that answer away already here, but yes, it's the majority of the cabinet. All right. Now they do have to notify the majority or the Speaker of the House and President pro tempore of the Senate to let them know that the president is disabled and that the vice president will be taking over in that regard. All right. So C is the correct answer here. All right, so we also need to know the order of succession. We've gone over this several times in class. The VP does take over in the event of the death, disability, resignation, and removal from office by the Senate. 3 has happened once. I believe there's been 8 presidential deaths, and then the disability has never permanently been invoked. Here you see the picture of Lyndon Johnson, along with First Lady Jackie Onassis, taking the oath of office on Air Force One before they left Dallas, Texas. Okay, Lady Bird is right here as First Lady, and this woman's name escapes me right now, but she was the first woman ever to swear in a president because the Chief Justice was not around, and she was a Kennedy appointee, so Johnson wanted to make sure this was done before leaving for Washington. All right, some informal powers of the VP. Now, these are not mentioned in the Constitution. Part of it is ceremonial. The VP wants to attend events on behalf of the president. He'll attend sporting events, international events, Olympics, state funerals, things like that. The VP sits in on cabinet meetings. They're part of the EOP, or Executive Office of the President, so they have a major function there. They serve on the National Security Council, which deals with most of the foreign policy issues and meet with the president frequently. Along with the CIA head, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, things like that. And then he'll also do diplomatic missions. I remember Biden had gone to Israel early in Obama's presidency to negotiate a peace settlement over there in Israel. All right. Which of the following would not be on the National Security Council? All right. So we already obviously know that the VP is. Okay. I mentioned the CIA director, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Secretary of Defense. So our correct answer is D, the Secretary of the Interior, because they are mostly responsible for the inner workings of the country, like the national parks and the environment, not a national security issue. All right, factors that influence VP selection. This is the main point of the debate here. Um, but it's usually to provide a balance with the president. All right, they call the phrase balancing the ticket out. So you'll have a moderate with a liberal, a moderate with a conservative, depending on the political party. Dan Quayle, who was Daddy Bush's VP nominee, was chosen because he was younger and much more conservative than Bush, who was a moderate and relatively old vice president coming off of with Reagan. Okay, so he was a textbook pick in that regard. Ended up being kind of a hindrance. Now Bush did win, but Quayle has many flaws, including the spelling of potato, which I will write here on the board in a spelling bee. All right, wrote it right there, and the kid, a national spelling bee champ, had it, and Dan Quayle said, "One more letter, you're missing one," and the kid reluctantly went like this, and Quayle said, "Yay, way to go!" There's your VP for you, Mr. Quayle. There's several other you can probably Google Dan Quayleisms and find plenty. All right, we also want to have a regional balance with the national ticket. So when you have a Mitt Romney from Massachusetts, okay, well, there would be a nice appeal to have a Paul Ryan from Wisconsin to kind of balance things out a little bit, okay? Obama, I have my colors messed up. I have an Obama from Illinois, all right, and then a Biden from Delaware. A little bit of regional balance there, but Delaware's 3 electoral votes were not the reason Biden was selected, okay? Now, Clinton did not use that. In Clinton's case, Clinton was from Arkansas. He picked Al Gore from Tennessee. Not a lot of regional balance coming in with that ticket, but generally, the VPs are generally sought to try and bring some regional balance so you don't have president, vice president from the same part of the country. All right, scary picture there, but we also want to choose a like-minded individual to manage the bureaucracy and achieve the policy goals, because the VP is kind of the president's liaison, not like a chief of staff necessarily, but somebody to help him negotiate and deal with Congress and other parts of the government. So Cheney was kind of that odd pick, but definitely fits this description there. Him and Bush were both conservative. Cheney was on Bush's cabinet, his dad's cabinet, so he kind of fit in there to sort of be more the enforcer of Bush's policies. All right. In this case, Obama-Biden, this is to help a presidential candidate's weakness. All right, Obama's weakness was foreign policy. Didn't know much about it. Joe Biden was on the Foreign Relations Committee for years in the Senate, so he was sort of meant to shore up and fill up the gap of foreign policy that Obama had. A little bit of an age gap there as well. Biden been in the Senate since he was 29, and Obama being young also, that kind of appealed in that regard. Trying to think of some other picks that kind of fit into that area as well. Cheney had some foreign policy experience. Bush didn't have a lot, so that factored in. I think the Paul Ryan pick doesn't fit this at all, and that was what was kind of controversial about it. Was Romney's strength was the economy. Paul Ryan was the chairman of the Budget Committee, also an economic person, really not a foreign policy mind on that staff or on that ticket. All right. Which of Obama's weaknesses did Biden balance out? Yes, I know I'm giving all of these away for you, but this will make you feel smart heading into the exam there, and that is foreign policy, all right, for President Biden, or Vice President Biden and President Obama, okay? Gender balance. This has been seen twice. Geraldine Ferraro in 1984. In that election, Reagan won 49 of the 50 electoral votes, so I don't know if that we're ready for a woman VP just yet. And then Palin was there because McCain was trailing with women. And he felt that picking a young, conservative female would offset that, and plus the fact that Obama did not pick Hillary for his VP, he was hoping to sort of pounce on some of the anti-Obama feelings from women for shunning Hillary. As you see, that plan backfired. And if you want to see a good movie called Game Change, that explains a lot of the Palin selection. All right. Recent years, they've been given more consideration to the background, health, and other qualifications due to Reagan's and JFK's assassination attempt and then actual assassination, because before they never really focused on could this person become president, and that's what Mr. Schmidt says in the movie Game Change about the Palin selection, is that they picked her based on all of the demographics and all the polling numbers, and didn't really look on the fact that is this woman really ready to become vice president, and that was really exposed during the debates and the campaign, and that cost them the election. All right. So tomorrow in class, you're going to read a hypothetical VP, 5 different hypothetical VPs, and you're going to pick which candidate you would select, and probably give you the responders and have you vote on this one. All right. So great job. Thanks for paying attention, and we hope you have a wonderful evening.